that many more murderers roaming the streets, just leaving more people to probable death. People commit murders for many reasons: money, jealousy, and just out of anger. If these can set people off to the point of taking someone's existence, then why should they be allowed to live? There is always a story behind what happened in those split seconds. Whether it's because a robbery went bad, they were getting revenge, or someone was trying to protect themselves or their families from getting hurt. I am a strong believer in the death penalty, but I do understand why someone would kill if they were trying to protect themselves or a loved one. If someone breaks into your home to harm you, and are you just going to let it happen if there is something that you can do? Everyone has the right to self-defense. If someone is attacking you, then you do everything in your power to stop them. When someone is fighting for their life and their last and final option is to kill their attacker, then sometimes that is what has to happen. If this occurs, I think that they should not have to suffer in prison because someone was going after them, and there was nothing left to do. Instead, they should have somewhere to go. They should have somewhere they can have the security of talking to someone so they can move on with their lives. There is a big difference between cruelty and self-defense. When you can simply take someone's life for maybe no reason at all, then why should you have the luxury of being able to stay alive while an innocent person has just lost their life? On the news and in the paper, you can more than likely see that there is someone who is being released from prison that was charged with murder, and how does that come close to being fair? I think that if you are guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, that within that year they should be executed. If there is some doubt in whether or not that is the actual offender, then yes, they should be sitting in prison. That case should be thoroughly investigated to try to find the actual offender if they are unsure before they do take an innocent person's life. When the convicted are faced with the end, there are 5 ways to be executed depending on where you are. The most common in the United States is lethal injection. That consists of 5.0 grams of sodium pentanol and 22 to 25 cc of diluent. Next, there's 50 cc's of bromide and 50 cc's of potassium chloride. Each chemical is lethal in the amounts administered. There are 35 states that authorize this as well as the military and the U.S. government. The next kind of execution is by electrocution, which is performed by using a specially made wooden chair and that has electrodes placed onto the body. Only 9 states use this method but still have lethal injection as primary technique. Still to this day, they have the gas chamber. This method is not commonly used and is only allowed in 4 states. But all 4 states have lethal injection as primary technique. The last 2 methods are hanging and fire squad. Hanging only takes place in 2 states, as well as the others. They have lethal injection as primary technique. The fire squad is only allowed in 1 state, and that's Oklahoma. As well as the others, they also have lethal injection as primary method. When people have been convicted with such horrendous crimes such as murder, the offender sometimes gets released on parole. The year Arnold Schwarzenegger was elected in office in California, he let 48 people who were sentenced to life in prison out on parole. Although only 6% of murderers released on parole kill again, 6% may not seem like a lot, but it still means people are getting killed. Should a cold-hearted murderer be allowed to lurk the streets waiting for their next victim? If you have taken someone's life once, then why should you be given another chance to do it again? Instead of these offenders be given a chance to kill again, they should be put on the death penalty. As times have been getting in harder and harder the last several years, and because people feel that it is inhumane, they don't look at death row as their first option. They look at life sentencing. A person would think death row would be remotely cheaper, but as it turns out, for one execution it roughly costs around $3 million. However, if someone is sentenced to life and is convicted at 18 and approximately lives 47 years, it will cost taxpayers $25,000 a year for 47 years, if not longer, which ends up costing somewhere around $1 million. With it costing much more to execute someone than keeping them in prison, that is what they choose to do. With as much research as I have compiled, it is still unclear to me why an execution costs so much money. Something needs to be done. I think that it needs to cost less than $3 million to execute one person. I do believe that murderers should be put on the death penalty. They should have to